Hello, and welcome to Voices of the 21st Century Author Spotlight, a show dedicated to sharing the messages of women from around the world who show up and share their truth. My name is Gail Watson. I'm founder and CEO of Women Speakers Association, and today we're going to go into a conversation really about how women succeed in an industry dominated by men. I have the proud honor of introducing to you best-selling author Brigitte Stills. She is co-author of Voices of the 21st Century, Women Transforming the World, and she has definitely done that and is still doing that. This book has reached bestseller in 4 countries, went #1 in 10 different categories. So please join me in welcoming Brigitte.
Hello, Gail. How are you today?
Doing excellent. I am really excited to have this conversation with you today because it is one that all women can relate to. And it's in gratitude that we look to women like you who actually were the trailblazer and helping create easier paths for us. Because I know that you broke into a male-dominated industry and paved the way for women joining into that industry by overcoming many different obstacles along the way. So please share with us what inspired you to share this story.
Look, I thought about this as I spoke to you once before. I found this a little bit hard, this journey, talking about it. It was something that happened in 1974, and I found it a little bit hard to talk about because some parts of it weren't very, very good for me, and other parts were. But at the end of the day, I felt that why not? Why not let people out there know what it was like in 1974, what it was like for women that wanted to get into an industry that was totally dominated by men at that stage. I mean, mind you, things have changed considerably now, but at that stage, I was the only one. And the company that I was actually wanting to work for had 12 offices, and they were one of the largest in Australia. And I remember going for the interview and they said, why do you want to do this? And I kept thinking to myself, yeah, why do I? But why not? And so that's sort of how it all started. And that's sort of how my journey started. But look, it started off a little bit sooner than that because I was at university and my father at that stage had said to me, look, this is going nowhere, European background, that sort of attitude. He was saying, this is going nowhere. You've got another 2 years to go. I'm not paying for this anymore. And it was quite expensive in those days for women to go through university. And I thought to myself, oh gosh, I'm going to have to go out there and I'm going to have to get myself a part-time job. And that's what I did. I applied for a job as a rental clerk. And really what that meant is I was driving people around showing them vacant rental properties on the basis that they would take one. And I really enjoyed it. I got to meet all these people, piled them into my car, took them to all these addresses. And I ended up leasing 28 properties in the 1 month. And this was just a Saturday and Sunday job. And this company was quite, overwhelmed by the fact that I could do this. And it was all because I loved it and I loved the communication aspect of it. And I liked people to let me know what it was that they wanted and what were they looking for. And subsequently, I could match them up with what we had. So, that path was easy. So that's sort of how that path started. And then down the track, they decided that they were going to strata title their blocks of units, their apartments, and they were going to sell them off. And I was approached by one of the directors, would I be interested in participating in the sales and helping sell these apartments? And of course, I jumped at that opportunity, gave up my uni, studies and thought I'll postpone this. This is a good way of getting myself out there, making money. I thought to myself, this is a learning journey for me. And I'm meeting people, which was what it was all about for me, learning to converse with people and find out how people tick, basically. And that was always something that I was interested in. So I did that for 6 months and I sold properties, but I didn't get a lot out of it. It was sort of like a token of appreciation, more or less, not a not a major reward. So that's how I got into wanting to be bigger and better and wanting to, get into full-time real estate, wanting to see residential grow. And I wanted to see what I could do if I could really go and sell houses versus apartments. I didn't have any problems with apartments. So I thought, well, why not try something else? And that's how my journey started.
Interesting. I want to go back to when you were first knocking on the doors looking for work, and you were greeted with, why do you want to do this? And even your father really putting an obstacle in your way as well, like not seeing the true investment in you. So what was it inside of you that pushed through? I mean, you've had great success, which is awesome, but what made you push through?
Um, Look, it was something, I don't know what exactly it was at that time. I just saw myself having an opportunity that could possibly be very good for me in my future. I was always I had strong determination, and I was always one that wanted to knock over obstacles, and I wanted to be I wanted to be a trailblazer. I wanted to be there. I wanted to be the first at everything, and I wanted to succeed. So I worked harder than anybody else. And I remember when I first started ringing around to see if I could get a job, people were saying, no, we're not hiring women. We're not hiring females. And I remember after about the second or third call, I think to myself, this isn't going to work. This isn't really for women. This isn't not for you. And I thought, well, what is left for me? If I can't get this job, what am I going to do? I don't have any other qualifications. I've only part of a way through a psychology course. What am I going to do? So I thought, no, I can't give up. I'll keep trying. But it was, people were asking me, why do you want to do this? What do you see? This is hard for men. It's not going to be easy for you. It's going to be harder for you. And I kept thinking, well, if it's hard for a man and it's going to be hard for me, so what? I can do just as well as what he can. And that was my mentality. And when I actually got an interview with this organization, where I was talking to the guy, and he said to me before I came in to have this interview, he said, we're only talking to people that know how to sell real estate and that can produce documentation to say that, that they're credible. So I went in there with a box of my sales advice notes and my receipts to say, this is what I've sold. These are my transactions going through. He looked at about 3 and 4, and then he said, okay, all right, I understand. I can see what you've been doing. He said, I will give you the job. But he said, you have to go and see our general manager and see whether he will approve you. The way he was saying that, I was thinking, oh my goodness, this is going to be a hard road to travel. It was. I had 4 interviews for that job, and that general manager actually said to me, why do you want to do this? This is a man's world. This is not for women. Women are at home looking after their children and looking after their families. And I didn't quite have an answer to that one. And I said, but this is what I want to do. And I said, I think I can do well. And I brought all my evidence and I piled it all on his desk. And I said, can I show you all this? He said, no. He said, your manager, Paul, has already told me all about this. He said, you've proven yourself that you can sell units and apartments. And he says, but what makes you think you can sell a house? And I remember thinking to myself, well, what is the difference? Because people are buying either one of those or one of those, whatever it is that they can afford. And I just sat there and looked at him, and he said, let me think about it. Anyway, I went away and I went back to the sales manager at where I applied originally. And I said, I'm not sure what's happening there. He says, give him a couple of days and see what comes of it. He called me, this general manager called me up again, and he said, well, come in, we'll have another chat. So we had another chat. Then we had another chat. And then when it got to the 4th time, and I remember saying to him, I've been here 4 times now. Either you're going to give me this job or I'll just have to go and knock on other people's doors, more or less. And he said, okay. He said, you've got the job for 6 weeks. You are on a trial. He said, in 6 weeks, you have got to produce a sale. And I said, great. I didn't ask any questions. I said, great. When can I start? This is Monday. So off I went. I was thinking to myself, 6 weeks. How do you make a sale in 6 weeks? You got to find the clients. You got to take them out. You got to show them the property. They got to like it. They've got to put down a deposit. They've got to get a contract. They've got to get it to their solicitor. They've got to get it signed. And then a sale's not concluded until there's a settlement. That takes another 6 weeks. And I thought, how am I going to do this? Anyway, I just put people in my car. I got the job. I started on the Monday, and I remember thinking to myself, anyone that comes through that front door that wants to see a house, if I can get to them before any of the other sales guys, I can take them in my car and I can take them to a property. So I studied this folder of properties that we had, and there was, look, it was quite high. You know, there were a lot of properties for sale. It was hard in those days. Things weren't easy to sell. And so I showed anybody and everybody through properties. And I ended up getting a deposit on a property that was company title. It wasn't Torrance title. It wasn't strata title. It was company title. And company title means it takes like 12 weeks for a solicitor to go through all the documentation to find out whether it's credible and then to convert the title. I got the deposit. I went back to my sales manager and I said, I've got a deposit. How's this going to work? He says, good, let's just see whether we can get it to a finalization. Anyway, 6 weeks had passed and I went back to him and I said, 6 weeks are gone. We only got a deposit. We're no closer to an exchange of contracts. And he said, go back and see the general manager, which I did. And he said, okay, you've got a deposit. I said, yeah, I have, but I haven't got, you know, it hasn't finalized. And he said, okay, keep me informed. And I said, I can go now. He said, yes. So I went back to the office and I said to my sales manager then, I said, where does that leave me now? And he said, just keep on working. So days went by and I was feeling sort of thinking, he's gonna tell me to go home soon. You know, nothing was happening. I was losing faith. And my sales manager said, just keep showing properties, keep working at it. He was very good. He kept me grounded. He kept my feet on the ground. And he just said, keep on going. This general manager left it 11 weeks before he got back to me to say that I had the job.
Oh, they certainly didn't make it easy on you.
No, look, it wasn't easy. But then again, at the end of the day, I think it proved something to me that if you really want something hard enough, you'll work for it. If you're determined and you feel that it's the right thing for you, you will work at it. It just depends on yourself, you know, how you feel about yourself, how much determination you have. And I think I had the resilience. I was tenacious. I just wanted to be there and I wanted to do this. And I used to walk around feeling really poorly because I used to think, you know, the guys in the office, there was 11 men in the office, myself and a junior receptionist. That's all we had. And she was female. So there's only us two. This girl and I, we clung together like glue. And there was nothing, you know, we'll meet you at the water cooler and we'll have a conversation. There was none of that. You know, it was hard. But look, I hung in there and I kept at it and I kept saying to myself, you've got to keep on going. And I just started building more credibility. And I remember people coming into the office and saying, I want that woman over there to come and have a look at my property. And I'm thinking, me? You know, me? And they said, you. So that's how it all sort of started. And it took 6 months before people recognized that I could sell real estate, that I had a brand and I had a name in the suburb, and people started coming in. If there was anything for sale, I would go there and I would look at it. I would look at it from the front door to the back fence. You know, I would look at it and I'd write little notes. So I had it in my mind what that property consisted of. So if anybody walked in the door and they said, I'm looking for a house, and I asked them, what are you looking for? I'd run them through everything I had seen, every little bit. I could be so descriptive about everything. And no one else was doing that. And I thought to myself, well, that's got to be a plus because I'm giving them a lot more information than anybody else was giving them. I'd take people through a house and I'd say, okay, the kitchen cupboards need a little bit of work, but I know what you could do. You could paint them. You could put new door, you could put handles on them. You know, you could do this, you could do that, maybe a new range, maybe this here, or maybe that, maybe some new curtains or some drapes. And people say, yeah, maybe I could do that. Well, you
Yes,
don't.
because and today we get to do virtual tours on the internet, which wasn't available then. So let's fast forward. And your story, when you read your story in the book, your jaw kind of hits the floor going, really? This is how this brilliant, talented woman is treated just because women weren't accepted in that industry yet, or weren't that welcomed in that industry yet. So thank you and all the realtors out there in today's world. They should be bowing down to Brigitte for really, getting in there and opening that pathway up for you to travel in a nicer way. So Brigitte, let's fast forward to today. Okay, you broke new ground in real estate. You were on that 11-week pins and needles, walking on eggshells. What transformed? What happened?
Well, after maybe 12 months of me working for this organization, that company actually employed another woman. And this girl called in the office one day and she said to me, I've just been given this job, and I was told that I had to come and work with you for a week. And I said, what? And if I ever was knocked off my chair, it was that day, because I thought, how bad is that? Nobody even tells me about this, and this woman's just got the job. And I must admit, I didn't treat her very well for that week because I was angry. I was frustrated. I was angry. Nobody said to me, we're going to do this. Can you please give her some time? Take time out of your week. But look, at the end, we became very good friends. We became very good friends, and we started selling properties together, even though she was at another part of the world where I was. But we became good friends and had been good friends for many, many years. And unfortunately, she passed away a year or so ago, but it was tragic. But she was one of my very best friends, and we worked together, and we changed the way things worked. We went out there and we spoke to lots of real estate agents that we met at properties or wherever, and we said to them, we are real estate women, this is what we do. Why aren't you giving somebody else a chance? Do you know, Gail, it was something like about 10 years after that, and women started getting into real estate. And now, there's a lot of organizations are looking for women to sell properties now. Some of the ones in Sydney now, they have more women than they have men. As a matter of fact, property management, which I originally started on, is nearly all dominated by females.
Wow. Okay. Do you hear the cheering? Can you hear the cheering? I wish I had one of those buttons that put in the cheer. That is terrific. Like, that's got to feel good, Brigitte. That's got to feel good to know that you had impact just through your own actions of changing that industry.
I don't know whether I did this. I think I was a contributor towards this, and I think it was I helped, and people were talking about it, but behind closed doors, that woman up the road, etc. I mean, I'd walk down the street and people started looking at me and thinking, oh, there's that woman, she works in the real estate office and everything. But I'm glad we've had this change, and this change needed to happen, and it just took a long time. I don't know whether the change is now for the right reason, where we just go and employ women because they are women, and we think that they have the opportunity, or they have the expertise and the knowledge, and to create and make sales or run offices or whatever. I hope I'm right. I hope they do have, but that's what's happening at the moment. So if you're a woman and you want to go and work in real estate, you can get a job.
Okay. Your book. I'm thinking we need to get a copy. Where can we get a copy of your book to be able to read your story in fine detail?
Look, my book's available on my website, www.stillsproperties.com.au. Right on the front page, there's a copy of the book, and you can press the button and it will come to you.
That's terrific. And I'm also thinking, well, if you're listening to Brigitte right now, share, and you could be sitting there finding this hard to believe and admiring all the obstacles that she overcame to create this path. Many of us are on paths where there's obstacles in different aspects of our life. I think this book, if you know somebody like that, this book would be a terrific gift for that person, to be able not only get a copy for yourself, but get a copy for that other person, or a few other copies where people are having to trailblaze their own path, or they're experiencing obstacles. Let them know that you see them, and let them know that not to give up. There's hope. Look at what Brigitte's done. And so please go to Brigitte's website. It's Stills, that's with an S, STILLS, properties.com.au. Brigitte, wow. Yes, I can see why people were looking at you walking down the street. They weren't saying, "Oh, look at that woman in real estate." You were the celebrity of, of the admiration. You are, when I think of the theme for 2023 with International Women's Day, it's embrace equity, and it's a celebration of women's voices and the accomplishments that they have done and they're doing. And you truly are a great symbol of that, because it's because of what you've done that you have made this world, by sharing your story, more equitable for all women, to really open those doors. So I want to thank you for that.
Look, it's a great pleasure, and I'm glad that I have actually, that I've actually produced this chapter in the book, as hard as it was. And I hope people do read it and understand that this is how it was, but that's not how it is now. But it was hard in those days, but it's a lot easier now. And it takes tenacity, doesn't it? It takes any odds to get you going. And at the end of the day, if you want to achieve something, you can achieve anything in this world if you have the right mindset. That's what it takes. It takes mindset to keep you going and to get you on that path to success.
Should we use that as your final words of wisdom, or do you have more?
I think that's my final words of wisdom.
Okay. Yeah, I love that. That's well done.
Look, when I speak to people now, when I'm doing a little bit of mentoring and coaching, and I'm always trying to talk to people about their mindset and changing the way they think and keeping on a path. Like we wake up in the morning and then we think about 10 different things and we don't know which one we're going to do first. You do, and I always work on the basis you do the most important thing first and work through your list. But it's having the right mindset. And I think anybody can be an achiever. We can all achieve marvelous and great things in this world. It's just getting on that right path. And I think that's what it takes.
That's beautiful. So it's the mindset.
Yeah.
Having that right mindset. Excellent. Well, Brigitte, it's been a pleasure to have this conversation with you today. Since the first day we met, I've admired all that you've accomplished. Truly, it's a privilege to get to know someone like you, because you really stand for something, and you're in action. You're a woman in action, and that's what I love most about you. Nothing stops you. So thank you for sharing your truth in this book. Thank you for opening up and sharing it with the world, because it's through your actions and your words that this change continues and empowers more women. So thank you.
Thank you, Gail.
All right. And to our listeners today, I want to thank you for joining us. Please do connect with Brigitte. And wherever you are in this world, we want to wish you a great day. Thanks for joining us.